That was
And,
great.
Oh,
Betty Sutton taught keyboarding. And we got sewing machines.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
And,
the sewing machines. They were
Wow.
upstairs off of the stage. the
Theater,
Chapel
yeah.
Auditorium.
Yeah,
That
right.
did cooking.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Anita Ekval.
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that was wonderful because we did not report to parents on how any of you did in your activities. Our thought was if somebody like David got excited about photography, we'd know it. And if he took photography and didn't care anymore, that was fine with us. It was just a matter of exposing and letting the kids explore without fear of failure or criticism.
That was such a wonderful program. That was
Really
so
was.
valuable.
All those things really
And,
stuck
Head
with us.
Start, we got to go and work at Head Start. I never stopped. There was no turning back for me on.
Yeah, that
Well-
was that was community action. That was part of it. And that was wonderful to take you guys to Head Start and Lincoln Avenue.
Lincoln Avenue, I worked
Remember
there
that?
for years after. I loved that place.
I can remember the first time we went to Lincoln Avenue, several of the little children came running up to you folks, wanted to rub your hair,
Yeah.
and they'd never seen braces before, and they wanted to feel your braces. That was big stuff for them.
I remember singing James Brown with them on the bus.
With Donald, Don, little man. I feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Baby, 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 baby.
They all knew it. They were all singing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for about 3 summers after that, I worked there just on my own, and it was, those same kids and some of the bigger kids. I just loved it.
That was a wonderful program.
What was the facility on Shadowlawn Drive for
Indigent.
Handicap
It was the old county. We called it the county home.
No,
That's what it was.
that? I have images till this day of individuals there, and it really woke me up a lot to get exposed to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Summer did a great job with us doing that.
That was one of my favorite things. And to go out to the county home, that is what they called it. But you guys would be some of the only people that some of those residents ever had visit them.
Yeah, I can remember that. I mean,
Yeah, and
we'd come walking in, and it would like change the temperature of the whole environment.
yeah,
And then the old folks home, something Hall.
Norwood Hall.
Norwood Hall.
Norwood Hall, and that's where it was really. That was
Okay.
Norwood.
And then here's my strongest memory, Goldie. She was a lady, and she would just walk up and down the hall on a walker, and she didn't talk very, but it was just back and forth and back and forth. That
Oh, I
taught me
remember
a
her.
lot of empathy going there.
I remember her. And there was a fellow, and I don't remember his name, but anytime you would say hello to him, he would say, I was at Fort Ticonderoga, and he would spell it every single time. Fort Ticonderoga. And one of them, Tom, and it may be one you talked to a lot, loved baseball, and he wanted to just talk about baseball all the time. You all were wonderful with them because it was not easy to visit some of those folks.
Yeah.
But you were wonderful with them.
Did we do some music too?
More than one.
Yeah, we would sing Christmas carols for them, or make an attempt anyway. And I think we would just kind of go in the hallway.
So, Mr. Lewis, help me out because we're all really drawn to this activity program. How did it get spawned and develop into such a just unbelievable element? I mean,
Well,
for that time period, the things that we were doing was I mean, pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd known from the time I arrived at Summit, and I'd come from rather traditional schools in Buffalo and Pittsburgh. But I learned a lot. As Michael Ebling would say, I had a great mentor in Louise Futrell. When you saw Louise Futrell, she was an aged person, but she and I got along just fine. And
Didn't she teach my mother?
Probably.
No doubt.
Didn't she teach my mother? I think?
yes, she would have taught your mother. She taught, when Miss Futrell came to the school, she had been principal of a school in the eastern part of the state, a high school with 1,000 students. And here she was coming to open a school with 18 students in a house in Winston-Salem. It was just a remarkable catch. But her brother-in-law had a house, and your parents wanted the depths of the Depression in the public schools. But learning by doing was just taken as our motto almost. And so I was interested in photography and I wanted to do that. And I wished I had learned how to type. So we wanted to do that. And we had a little pet greenhouse. So Thrace Shirley converted that into a pottery without running water. She carried water from her house into that dirt pit and started that. So it went, of course, none of it would have worked unless we'd had teachers who wanted to do that kind of thing. And it was pretty easy to get students out of class to do that kind of thing. So you all enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
But then we led into lots of other things like student exchanges with Mexico and all across the country.
In El Salvador, right?
Yeah, well, that was John Seymour.
Or Seymour. Yeah, because Rob
That
went
was a
on that.
personal summer program that he developed just with guys, I'm pretty sure. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody.
Rob went.
Yeah.
And,
Marty, you went, right?
they drank a lot of Coca-Cola, I know that.
Played a lot of baseball, fast pitch softball.
How many of you went on a student exchange in
None.
fifth
I don't
grade?
think-
None of them
No, that was,
hadn't started yet.
no, I think not.
Now, we did our trips. Williamsburg, Washington, D.C.
Right.
Right.
Williamsburg, 8th grade. Washington, 9th grade.
Yeah.
And we traveled with sports.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot.
Tonight, that was really, they don't do that anymore, but
But they don't.
No, yeah,
tonight at Spartanburg, Greenville, and Asheville.
exactly. And Charlotte.
In Charlotte.
Charlotte and Durham were day
We
trips.
would just make a day trip to Charlotte with
And
the
Right.
others. They were overnights. And
But we got to establish relationships with
Of
our
course.
students, and that was really cool.
well, it made sense. It was a lot of effort to
Yeah.
arrange for overnights for all our, because we'd take girls teams and boys teams at the same time. But I think it was a high point for those schools as it was for our kids. But then as other local schools started up, it was easier to play nearby. That organization kind of fell apart. Well, another thing was that the South Carolina schools in Spartanburg and Greenville were moved from oversight by the state of South Carolina. State of South Carolina didn't want to inhibit independent schools. And so they said, we will not regulate you, and anybody can start a school in South Carolina and hire the teachers you want and do whatever you want. And we thought we weren't ready to expand into that kind of operation. And it was happening in North Carolina too. I traveled in 1970, I traveled all over the state visiting schools that wanted to join our Association of Teachers for North Carolina schools. And that was instructive too. We called them cornfield academies, and they really were sprouting up in places like that.
Yep. And then parents got very concerned about children staying in homes when we didn't know much about the homes. The culture changed, the world changed, and we couldn't be quite as free as we used to be.
This is my husband, Greg Olson.
Hello, Greg Olson.
Hey.
David, you've met David Gray before in Warren
David,
Gap.
yeah.
Warren
This is
Gap.
Marty
David.
Myers. Tom, you've
Marvin.
met Tom before. Tom
Yeah.
Williams.
Congratulations.
This is, well, Dr. Olson, meet Dr. Adams.
I doubt
This
that.
is Doug and Bingle, and this is Sarah and Michael.
Hi, all.
You know Robin.
Hello to you.
Yes, indeed.
Do you know Robin?
So this is like Summit School 8th grade graduating class?
Ninth.
Nice.
Nice.
Great.
For-year kindergarten through ninth grade.
You know, those ninth grade speeches we gave, you know.
Oh
those
my
were
gosh, I
really
forgot about this.
great.
That was,
It's so good for us to do that.
Robin, what was your topic?
Was the gibbon.
It's an
oh,
impression.
I remember you did that.
I don't know. I just wanted to do something different. It was very different. And I've loved them ever since, you know. It's interesting.
Impressive looking bunch, I'll say that. Yes.
And
David, what did you do yours on?
Mine, I think it was on motorcycles. Why motorcycles were a good thing.
You did not convince me, Dave.
For some reason,
You know, my son, who's up visiting now, said, I want to get a motorcycle. I went, well, you can get one when I die, and you can ride it to my funeral.
for some reason, I was obsessed with the Hells Angels, and I'm
whoa.
surprised that you guys didn't like shut that one down immediately.
Freedom of expression.
Anyway, I was allowed to go ahead with it, and it was the most frightening experience of my young life.
Did you ever own a motorcycle, David?
I never did, no.
See, that speech worked.
It was just a momentary thing that passed. But it was good for me.
Good. Everybody say what your speech topic was. That would be fun.
Yeah, let's do them all.
Marty.
Handwriting analysis.
Whoa.
Oh,
Learning analysis.
Wow.
whoa.
That's cool.
Salvador Dali.
Ah,
Ah, yeah, I remember that.
Huh?
Not the speech specifically, but the topic.
Yeah, the pictures, the whole slideshow. There were some good pictures. Tom would.
What's in a name? I did a whole speech on various names, the most popular and the history behind them.
Oh, cool.
I'd like to hear all those again.
I know.
We hear Robin's? What was hers?
It's
Gibbon.
the gibbon, the monkey.
Gibbon.
Monkeys.
kind
Oh,
of
gibbon.
ape.
Yeah.
It's actually an ape, not a monkey.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ah,
I
uh-huh.
have a
We're
question.
the fastest swingers in the trail.
Well, that's why you picked it.
They're really pretty.
Oh,
I
good.
actually saw.
Another good reason.
I saw that. Who's that British fellow who does all the nature shows?
David Attenborough.
Man, his show on apes was amazing, and
Yeah.
the gibbons were gorgeous.
Yeah.
Hey, Robin, another unique thing about Summit, didn't you take part horseback riding? Did you do that?
I did do horseback riding. Ellen and
Lyle.
Lyle and I used to
Because
get,
I
you
used to
know,
ride with y'all out at Tanglewood, but
Yeah.
that
Good
wasn't-
time.
Not an activity of some sort. I don't know.
we would ride together to get out there,
Okay.
Hmm.
After
And-
school?
not at school.
Yeah, after school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Lewis, I loved your morning readings. What
Oh.
prompted you to do that?
Well, when I came, Ms. Futrell had already established an assembly every morning, well, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. And teachers were assigned dates when their particular class would make a presentation, and that left Mondays open, and I had to come up with something. Then there were special times at Christmas where I read part of a memoir by Lincoln Steffens about a boy who dreamed of getting a pony for Christmas, and his father prepared in their barn a place for a pony. And then on Christmas morning, out, and a man was leading a pony in the street down the highway, or the house, the street in front of the house, and went right by his house, and it just broke his heart. But the man apparently had fallen on ill times the night before and was not quite remembering what his assignment was.
Oh,
Finally the boy got what he wished for, but the tension of wishing for something so much and then apparently losing it.
It was heartbreaking to read.
It was hard for me to read through it. And then there were other things that I read off and on. But who doesn't enjoy listening to a good tale, even from an amateur reader?
Linda and I are serious addicts of audiobooks.
And now if somebody goes, "Are you reading anything?" I go, "Well, somebody is reading me."
They're great, especially on a trip, right? If you're traveling somewhere.
I use it and knit to it. Robin paints to stuff. Bingle, you were our first French teacher.
Probably,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I need to ask this group. Robin knows. I don't know if anybody else knows. Do y'all know that Noah died?
No,
Oh,
Okay,
No.
Noah died maybe in January.
really?
I hadn't seen him in years or
Yeah.
talked to him, but anyway, I just wanted to let you all know what a guy,
Yeah.
Noah.
I'm glad you brought that up because Marty and I were talking and we were trying to figure out who we lost. And
Is there
Nella-
anybody else?
did Nella die?
I didn't hear about Nella. Did Nella die?
Well, I thought a long time ago, but maybe I'm wrong.
You mean Nella?
Nella Tate?
Nella Tate.
Oh, Nella Tate. Mm.
She was a successful horseback rider.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Pilot. She's a pilot.
Oh, she is? Okay, good. Then I was wrong. Okay.
Now, Marty, you were in the military. You're a Marine? Are you still?
So for fun.
No. I happen to be with the pants that I have on now.
I already remembered that.
All right.
Were the ones that when I was discharged in '85. So, anyway,
Well, that's been a while.
indeed.
My boyfriend's daughter was in the Marines for a good
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
You talk
Good.
about institutions that have changed. I kept always harking back to Summit because in terms of change in the United States, we read in the newspaper and whatnot, but there was always a stability and normalcy that Summit provided, and along with obviously educational excellence. And I'm really very thankful for that because, looking back, Mother always said that Mr. Lewis gave great deference to Mrs. Futrell. But I think also, in fairness, Mr. Lewis, built out the structure of the school and added all the substance and whatnot. And I mean, everybody, plays their part to be sure, but I just, I think our cohort, as, fortunate as we were to have, Dr. Adams, Mr. Lewis was Summit,
Exactly right.
Okay, I will ask, if I may, and this probably might violate a non-disclosure or something. Mr. Lewis, do you remember interviewing Sandra?
Well, you're asking me to go back more years than Dr. Adams wants me to go back to.
You go right back. Because I remember everything about it. Let's see what you remember.
There are a lot of strange stories about how I interviewed people like Loma Hopkins and Sandra.
Oh, wow.
Rachel Malcolm.
Well, you got them to stick around. That's all I can say.
I remember going to your apartment in College Village, Sandra.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Were we doing Latin tutoring or were you just there?
I doubt it because you had Brian. No,
Yeah.
it was not academic. It was not scholarly at all.
It was just plain fun, let's
I
face
was
it.
not under any gun.
Well, let me tell you about that interview that Doug Lewis gave to me. It's like so many things. It was because of another teacher that I was there. Rachel Malcolm's husband taught with my Fred at North Forsyth, and that's how she knew about a Latin position at Summit. And I was all public school. I was at Reynolds. I had no interest in anything else. But because Rachel begged me to go, I went and talked to this wonderful man, Mr. Lewis, and I had a very good conversation. And at the end of it, I can remember it vividly. He said, well, I hope I see you again sometime. So that was it. That was the end. And I think a week went by and Rachel said to me, I am so concerned about why you didn't take that job. He offered it to you. I said, he said, I hope I see you again sometime. She said, that was an offer. That's how I ended up. I hope I see you again sometime.
Weren't we lucky? We were so lucky.
Oh man, I was the lucky one, that's for sure.
And then we were so lucky to have you teach us with Cuisinart rods. That was such a,
Oh, yeah.
Those were great.
I bought those for my kids,
Uh-huh.
for my two younger kids. And
I think about Cuisinart rods more than I ever expected.
I know I can picture them all, the colors and the sizes right now.
Yeah.
Light green.
I have to say,
Think more, Doug.
Miss Adams, I just want to say that it must be the picture of Dorian Gray because you seem to get
Look
younger
just the same.
Oh yeah.
while the rest of us get older. I don't know what it is.
I'm so glad you all lie nicely. Thank you so much.
Maybe it's the haircut.
It's a
It's
fantastic
the haircut, I
haircut.
guess.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'll be gray someday. I guarantee you. I haven't colored my hair yet, but I may have to think about it.
It's okay not to.
I'd say if it could look like yours, it would be okay. If I could look like you, it would be okay.
So
Doug, do you
guys,
dream about Summit a lot?
I dream about Summit?
I was asking Doug if he
Oh.
dreamed about Summit.
Do you dream about Summit?
Well, it's not the summit I know, but I have school-related dreams still, sure.
Any
Uh,
nightmares?
But
I
lately,
had
most
one
of my
where-
dreams have been about trying to get ready to travel somewhere
Oh.
and not being able to find my camera. I
Oh,
guess we're through.
I have
But anyway,
that.
the photography somehow gets into my dreams. Or-
Yeah, mine too.
I bet.
Years ago, I had a summit nightmare, which was I walked into it was Mrs. Adams' class, but it was for a final math exam. I had no idea it was going to be, and it was oral.
Whoa.
So that would, I mean, because you could fake it, you know, you could write on a piece of paper and at least leave and go, so sorry, I knew nothing. But it was like, okay, here's your oral math exam. I think I woke up before anything, you know, got scarier.
Yeah, you got to wake up.
Robin,
yes, sir.
I'd wait for Latin class.
father was chairman of the board for my maybe second and third years at Summit. And in 1959, he decided we needed to have an endowment. And I was so naive, I felt that an endowment might, Michael Ebling will laugh at this, that an endowment would make us lazy and that we had to prove ourselves every year and people would come back.
Wow.
But he knew better than that. And he went around to his parents, friends, the people slightly older than him, the Bowman Grays and others, and Ralph and DeWitt Haynes, and persuaded them to put Summit into their wills. And I don't know now what the endowment at Summit is. Michael probably does, but you will be hearing, if you haven't already, that one of our 1963 alumni, George Chandler, who was, well, you would have known him only when you were in the first few grades at Summit, but he was partially crippled.
He had a lot of disabilities.
And quite a few disabilities, but he had a wonderful father who worked at Reynolds and who himself had to overcome physical handicaps at work. But George, after Summit, went to Oak Ridge Military Academy, which was perfect for him because he required order. He needed regularity. And in this crazy, wild Summit atmosphere, the teachers and his fellow students still were able to provide that to him. And he just passed away, I've forgotten, 68 years old or something. And he has left Summit what I'm told is probably the largest bequest the school has ever received, over $1 million. And it's not finalized, and we don't know, I don't know anything about other groups that he might have put into his will, but it's just astounding to us and very gratifying. And I credit the kinds of teachers that he had, the Rachel Malcolm and the Loma Hopkins and the Martha Christians and Lita Christians and those other early, and Miss Futrell, of course, who were able to provide a home for him that obviously he felt deeply about throughout his whole life. But your father started us down that path, and I think your father would have been quite astounded. Your father knew George Chandler Sr. and knew the boy too, I'm sure.
Oh, it's wonderful.
What, Michael, if you're still there, what is the range of Summit's endowment these days?
Yeah, thanks for the range question, Doug. I appreciate that. No, I do. Doug knows. Doug, it's between 15 and 16 million.
Yeah, that's a help. That's a help.
How many students are there?
Yeah, tell us a little about the school and how it's been going this year, would you, Michael?
I will, because Mr. Lewis asked.
You're a smart man, Michael.
Full disclosure. So, yeah, so we have at this point 453 roughly, because, yeah, 453, and most of them are here on campus.
Oh,
But we have, so it's actually 5:44. Sorry, anytime after 5 o'clock and I'm asked to speak, all bets are off. So it's 5:44, and about 5:10 are on campus, and the rest are off campus.
oh, really?
Scattered up and down the grades.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. They're actually spread across the grades. And, I'm outside in one of the tents. So one of the things that happen, you might be able to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
The classroom.
Are you teaching in tents now?
Yeah, actually, David, there is truth to that. So they get outside as often as they can.
Yeah.
And Dwayne and his crew erected, I think, if we count these. So do you see these yellow ones? Can you see the yellow ones?
Yeah.
Orangish. Those are connected to the buildings, and the little ones can play outside with sun cover. And so there's a number of those. And then there are probably 10 or 11 tents like this one all around the campus. And so in Ashburton, behind the school, the most recent property purchase was a home right there at Ashburton and Monticello. And they raised that home and, flattened it out and grew grass before COVID, but it came in handy because there's a tent there as well. And since the school owns all those properties, the kids can walk over there through the circle and have that space. So that has gone on. And the other thing I would say that might interest you is what's going on with the classrooms. And this was really Dwayne and his crew. Dwayne Amon, who's our director of facilities, is amazing. And
Let me just explain.
Sure.
Dwayne Amon was Jack Talley's
Yeah, he was
assistant.
the Mr. Tally. Okay.
Yeah, he's Mr. Talley.
He
Yeah.
is the present Mr. Talley. Go
Okay.
ahead, Michael.
okay, and so the classrooms are outfitted now, many of them, I would say probably most of them at this point, with cameras orchestrated by Henry Heitman. So what do you want to say about Henry, Doug?
We didn't have a Henry.
No.
Oh, Henry wasn't there yet, but Henry's been here north of 30 years. Sarah might know exactly how many, but might be 32. He started out as a bus driver.
Yeah, I remember that.
Henry did. And now he's our classroom technology guru. And Henry is vintage Summit because he turns Sal's ear into a silk purse every time. He is amazing in that way. So he takes low technology and he placed it in the classroom, and he called it FRED, Front Row Educational Device. And so the children can be at home and they enter the classroom through that camera and through Zoom. I mean, they're using this platform. But the really amazing thing is they participate in class. So the children in class see them in the screen, and equally important, the children on the screen see everybody in the classroom. And that sort of got orchestrated by Henry, and maybe Sarah can add, but I would say those are the two sort of cool main things that are happening. And then, of course, the teachers. The teachers probably, I don't know, it's got to be north of 40, had to change classrooms because the classrooms had to be reconfigured in order to accommodate the regulations surrounding COVID. And so while schools get special dispensation, so when the governor said you couldn't have a gathering of more than 10 inside, well, of course, educational institutions got a pass on that. And they could have gatherings, but they had to abide by the 6 feet. And so Loma's music room, the theater, the studios, they're all sort of rearranged so the children are 6 feet apart, which caused the teachers to have to change location. So not only did they have the teachers the disruption that we all have from COVID, you know, the emotional toll that takes. They had to figure out hybrid. You know, they got children at home and children in the room at the same time. And then they had to figure out their new locations. And they have done it with a level of professionalism and calm that really is astounding. They would remind you of the teachers you're talking about. Maybe that's a long way of saying that.
That's fantastic to hear.
That is.
Well,
Y'all-
thank you.
Excuse me. Robin's getting ready to be a grandmother.
Oh,
And
wow.
Austin, and look at Austin over her shoulder.
That's the dad.
That's great.
Like maybe less than a month.
Yeah, a few weeks. And Austin is 6'8", and this baby is oversized. Even though the mom is like 5'2".
Oh,
She's petite.
poor mom.
I think they really were hoping that the child would average things out, maybe, but we'll see.
My oldest grandson knew Austin when Austin was 20, and he was about 4. And he looked at me one day. He goes, "One day I'd be like Austin. I'd be 20." Well, Mead is 6'8" also.
Is he really?
Yep, and he's not my blood. He's not my biological grandson, and he's 20, so he is like Austin.
He made it. He's like Austin.
Has anyone had any contact with Reed Leverton?
No.
Reed,
Anybody?
No.
Reed Leverton?
Right.
Neverton. Neverton.
Ended up in El Paso, but that's all I know.
Okay.
We were
Did
besties.
Pierce go back to Texas?
Sorry?
Philip Pierce. Remember him?
Yes.
Oh, good.
He was from Texas too.
Okay.
Lawrence Harper sent me an email right before this. He was planning to be on, but sadly his father is in the hospital, so
Oh,
going
Oh,
with that.
that's too bad.
That is. There's a fine.
Tom, how about any of your other buddies? Could you report on them?
The what?
Any of your other buddies you see?
Well, Marty and I kind of keep up with the same crowd. Yeah, I'm surprised Mike isn't on. Yeah, I don't know what happened to and
Chris Butler?
yeah, Chris, Marty, you and I were talking beforehand. You would run into him at some point, or what was that about? Because I haven't seen him in ages.
That was, several years ago, I think First Presbyterian, they had a
Oh yeah.
substance abuse type gathering, and he was there. That was the last time I spoke with him. Last time I saw Mike Robinson was, I think it was about 5:15 in the walking in the neighborhood.
No.
When we didn't, I just said, hey, kept moving, but
You still living at the same house near the school?
No, but another Summit family bought that house.
Okay.
They're not there anymore.
All right.
Mike got the
Tom,
honor
I think
of being the only person running for office to ever be allowed to have a poster planted on my parents' property.
Oh,
It was a big event.
now that's
Mom and
what,
Dad debated it. They said, we promised we would never do anything, but maybe for Mike, we'll make an exception.
that is so cool.
Did he go into office?
He was
Yeah, he's a
running
judge.
for the state Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He's a judge.
Yeah, now he's in business court. He's a judge in
Okay,
business.
yeah.
How about Dak Driscoll? Anybody heard from him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's doing a lot of philanthropic things in town, and he was just chair of the Senior Services Board, did a great job with that, and is heading up the Senior Services campaign. He's a granddaddy now.
Yeah. As am I.
Hot dig. I love those grandparents.
Tell us
Tom?
about the grandbaby, David.
Sorry?
Grandbabies. What? Tell us about you.
Only one. She's 2, and she's a handful.
You guys, I'm really covering it for everybody.
How many, Linda?
Well, there's one in utero, number 8.
Number
Wow.
8.
hey,
Whoa.
wow.
You win the prize.
Yeah, I got 20 years old, 20 in a few months, 17, almost 12, just turned 6, 5, almost 3, and 1 on the way.
Oh my goodness.
You win the prize.
Yeah, but yeah. It's
Tell
and,
them how many
and it is.
kids you have.
Say that again.
Tell them how many children you have.
I have 5 children.
Well,
And just before you judge, 5 adults were involved with the creation of these 5 children. In that, I had 1, Greg had 2, we blended a family, and then we had 2 children together. I actually had 2. I lost a child when he was 6 months old. He'd be like 41 now, so that was a while back. But yeah, I was
You've been busy.
busy. I'm not busy anymore.
All those Willises.
Yeah, well, Mildred had 4, Betty had 2, and Rob had 3. Yeah, we're populating the world.
Tom, they might want to know about Bill Cobb.
Well, yeah, that was an interesting trip. Yeah, he got together with me and then Marty, and we grew a little group of Mike and Jack Sutton, and we would meet for breakfast. And then he sadly was had a misdiagnosis and struggled to recover, and he passed away 2 months ago, I guess.
But you gave him lots of good chances to rethink his summit life, which was, I
Oh,
think,
God.
part of the happiest part of his life.
Well, I'm glad you actually brought that up, because one thing he mentioned, which I didn't realize, a lot of folks that were on the bus, he really remembered a lot of our classmates that he drove the bus for, and spoke very highly of a lot of folks in that regard. So he really enjoyed everything he did at the school, teaching, coaching, and driving the bus.
He was a science teacher, correct?
Matt.
Yeah.
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 Mr. Carr?
Cobb.
Cobb. Bill Cobb.
I took, we took geometry. I
Basketball
took
coach.
blonde hair.
Yeah. Big guy.
Yeah.
I think he was a basketball coach. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And football.
Right.
I remember I was so traumatized by riding the bus when I was, I think, in 4-year kindergarten. But the bus driver had to carry me to the door.
Robin. I remember one time, I think it was Miss Christian's class when we were doing our letters. It was either that or 5-year kindergarten. And it was D, and we had to cut out a picture and bring something that began with a D. And Mama was helping me, and she had me cut out a picture of Khrushchev and bring it as devil. And I was like, that wasn't doing it in my world, but so I had my little envelope, it had D on it. They let me out. Leroy opened the door and I got out. And as I'm going into the thing, I toss it under the bush. It doesn't make sense to me. That's a man. He's kind of ugly, but he's not I don't understand. So I'm like, I'm scot-free. I don't have to do anything. And then all of a sudden at the opening of the door, there's Leroy. He goes, I got this envelope.
Oh,
No.
oh.
It's a devil.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad you mentioned the name Leroy. Summit was, without Leroy, it was.
He was such
everywhere.
Yeah.
He was the glue.
Yeah.
That's so true. He wouldn't let you guys get by with much.
No, he didn't. And there was something he used to say to us when we go and take our trays, and he
Keep your shirt on.
Keep your shirt on.
Shirt on.
He's like, Tom, keep your shirt on, man. You're going to be okay.
I wasn't planning on taking it off.
Whatever that means, I'm not sure.
Oh my
Yeah, he was something else. He really was.
I'm going to have to sign off to get to a 7:00 meeting, but this has been such a treat, people.
All right. Well, I think,
You guys are so much fun.
yeah.
This was delightful to see y'all. I'm
Wonderful
so
to
happy.
see everybody.
Everybody
glad to
is
see
wonderful.
Bye-bye.
Sorry for my
Bye-bye.
That's fine, Sarah.
Well, so good to see everybody. Is Mr. Lewis coming back so we can say goodbye?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to do that.
Thing. One of my favorite memories was Kitty, the German Shepherd.
Kitty
Yeah.
dog.
Kitty.
Great.
We
Wow.
named that so that people wouldn't be so afraid.
Mr. Lewis said it was so that you could call the cat and the dog at the same time.
Well, that was for those reasons.
And we all gave him cookies, the poor thing.
And remember Miss Shirley's dog? Remember the beautiful, that little fat beagly dog that belonged to the Shirleys?
Oh,
She
yeah.
would come for cookies every day. And
Mhm.
apparently she also ate at their neighbor's house too every day.
Ah,
You were.
Yeah.
Y'all, I want to bring up, and Robin and I have talked about this, I want to bring up a memory that I have of Noah. okay?
Good.
Yes.
5 year, and it involves you. There's one part that involves you, Bingle. So we're in Miss Brower's class, and I'm sorry, keeping it real. She was mean, and we were kind of scared of her. She was mean. So
Yeah, pretty
Noah
sharp.
had acted up. This is part one of it. Noah had acted up, and she got really mad. She goes, "I'm sending you to 4-year kindergarten. You're going right now." And she goes, "Linda, you take him to 4-year kindergarten." So we walk out of the room, and Noah just turns to me in like full tears and just holds me, and he's sobbing, and I'm 5 years old, like holding him. And then you come down the hall, Bingle, and you go, "What's going on?" And I explain, and you go, "I'll take care of it." And that was good. Okay, so
I
that
hope I can.
you did great. So then part two was Miss Brower had a really good thing of behavior modification. We had the Be Good Club, if anybody remembers. And you got a star if you were being good. And
I'll take
at
the
the
rest.
end of a certain time period, if you had a certain amount of stars, you got a red hot for each of those stars. And you got to choose to be in the Be Good Club. So Noah said, "I don't want to be in the Be Good Club." And so he was the only one not in the Be Good Club. And so we're having our whatever time period meeting, and it's during recess. And so we're all sitting there because we know we're going to get red hot. So we're going to sit there and listen to whatever it was she was saying. I don't remember. And Noah, meantime, gets to go out for recess. And I have such a memory. We're facing away from the windows, looking out on the play yard, being good and whatever. And I look over my shoulder, and Noah is outside by himself, running around going, "Whee! Whee!" Just having the best time. And we're all like not having such a good time, but we're still red hots. But Noah made a really clear choice of, I don't really want to be in the
Because Linda learned for the rest of her life, what is the point of the Be Good Club?
There is a point of it. It's not red hots, but it's more intrinsic. It's more internal. I've internalized this, so I don't need red hot rewards anymore. But I just thought Noah, it was just such a neat memory of him. Just
That's a good memory.
yeah.
Mr. Lewis, I was wondering if you know what happened to Steve Gombosi.
Oh, no.
He was so brilliant.
It was brilliant.
That's interesting. Marty and I brought that same person up when we were talking beforehand of individuals we'd love to know something about. So thanks for asking. He was a music teacher at one point.
Really?
Florida, I believe at one point, but I don't know the specifics.
What was his name again?
Steve Gombosi.
Gumbo.
And he
Oh,
was
yeah.
a single mom. And maybe he was in who was in the Russian class? Who all did Russian?
And Hal,
What? With Ghost
Yeah,
Coast,
yeah,
Yeah.
His mother was Marilyn Gombosi.
Yeah, yeah. And was she Russian also? Was she from another country?
I
Was
don't
she
think
from
so.
another country, an Eastern European country?
She
I
went
think Hungary, wasn't it?
Hungary, okay.
from.
I don't know.
No, I don't.
What about Reagan McAndrews?
Oh, for heaven's sake.
That just rose to the top.
Yeah.
The McAndrews came to school to Winston in the 60s.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think
Good night.
I think it was Gordon McAndrew.
Gordon was the father.
Yeah, and he ran the one of John Ely's schools, not the governor's school or not the School of the Arts, but the Advancement School, which was one-term boarding school for bright kids from across the state who
Oh, I
were,
remember that.
supposed to be given a glimmer of what good teaching could do, where they could go.
Kind of beyond Old Salem, just outside of Old Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the program failed because when a child came from a school district, he brought a teacher with him. A teacher was also to be infected by new enthusiasm for teaching. But it didn't work because when these two, the student and the teacher, returned to their home schools, they just were different people and were
It's no
almost
longer a fit.
rejected by
Oh.
the established social circles, teaching.
But we've lost track of them, I'm
But
afraid.
I haven't thought of them for years.
No.
Yeah, Summit still does probably, but Summit always attracted interesting non-governmental agency types, heads of colleges and schools like that. And they always brought interesting kids with them.
Boy, were we lucky.
Yeah.
We were all lucky.
We were.
Yeah, they were.
They were about to close, but they were waiting to say.
Okay, well, thank you for waiting and
Oh, no, we still want to talk a little. I want to share one more thing about some of my grandchildren. My first granddaughter was born on my birthday, and I caught her. So that was
oh, wow.
born in water.
Oh my God.
I caught her. My last two children, I gave birth in water. I had all home births, that. But then one of our grandsons was born on my husband's birthday. He's an April Fool. So each of our daughters' first child were born on each of our birthdays.
Oh, how cool.
I like numbers, so that works. Thanks to you, Mr. Lewis.
Well, hardly.
Absolutely.
No, totally, seriously.
Your father was pretty good with numbers too.
I have a 5-year-old grandson who's autistic, and he's got a little savant thing through him. I mean, he can talk. He's still, mastering talking, but that boy and numbers, he is a number little man. I was talking to my daughter, and I could hear him in the background. He's going, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 8 is up to 4,000, whatever So he loved numbers are his superpower. He loves them. He loves them.
That's
So
great.
I know he.
Yes.
Whatever he does, we'll see. He's 5. Robin, you're muted. Okay.
All right.
So great to
Bye-bye.
see all of y'all.
Hi, good to see you, Robin.
It would be wonderful to have another, just summit thing like this. This is really fun to see everybody.
It is.
Hey,
Robin, you're muted. You, Robin, are muted. Mute.
Okay.
hey, is there any chance that y'all can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Dr. Ebeling had to leave.
Okay.
I'm using his computer.
Okay.
But before we jump off, I wanted to thank Tom,
Thank you so much.
who was the
Do anything.
brainchild,
I just said, let's do it. That was-
and David Gray, who really got behind Zoom.
Thank you, David.
And September 2021, we'll have you guys in person for your 50th.
Great idea.
And then we'll have the class of 1971 to keep it all on track.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you all so much. This has been
Right.
great.
Thank you all,
See you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Be well. Be safe.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Mr. and Mrs. Lewis.
Thank you.
Great to see all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.